Mhm.
So if we then shift away from that and start to just talk more about the tech side of stuff. So there's two different contexts where we're going to have, home or distance learning, remote learning, whatever you want to call it, happening. One will be online, where you might have kids who have really good access to technology and can utilize things like Google Classroom or Canvas or Microsoft or whatever it is that the school is already using. But then there's also going to be people who have no access to tech. And what do they do? So let's start with the people who have the access. What kinds of tech tools do you use? How do you use them? Have you got an extra level of thinking that goes into your use of these tools than would happen in your classrooms? That's a lot of
Um,
questions at once, but just,
it is, but I'll try my best. So it just depends on the purpose in regards to the tech type of thing. So our boss is very generous and will allow us, to kind of experiment and dip our toes into the water of using lots of tech. I always have, if it's not the best use for the student kind of thing, then I need to find something else that can make it work. So you become very resourceful as a distance education teacher. So I really like Google Classroom for the fact that the kids, no matter where they are, feel like they're part of a classroom as such. And they're social beasts. So they desperately want to know that there's other people out there doing online learning and heading in the same direction as they are. In saying that, there's lots of platforms that you've mentioned, Canvas, Microsoft, that are allowing for more collaboration to happen. But once again, that comes back to how much data the students have, what they have access to. I really like Quizlet as a tool I mentioned before for senior students, but now it has really cool tools where you can add images and sounds. So if you were teaching students their words, I sit next to the primary faculty and I can hear them teaching like multi-lit via Zoom, which is really, really cute. I think once again, coming back, working smarter, not harder, Zoom now has lifted its 40-minute cutoff point for free accounts due to our current situation, which is really good. And there's a recording feature on it, like we're doing now. So if you're going to deliver a lesson and students can't be there for a variety of reasons, record it, put it up in your digital platform so then they can catch up on their work later. So that would be a really big thing. Record your lessons, upload them into your platform. So if students are away or you have taught something really well, they can go back and review it. But definitely, the more students can feel that they're part of something bigger and not left on their own, that's the type of technology I would be using.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, I know Google have done the same thing for Google Meet. That they've upgraded that to the point where all schools have full access to Google Meet, which means that you can then have, I think it's like thousands of people in your meeting room, and also you can record those as well, which is great. I'm saying that I've been cranky at Google for not letting us record stuff for a long time, but for at least for the next little while, it's free and you can use the recording feature. Hopefully they just keep it on. I imagine that actually will be what ends up happening, because Google are like that. They like to go, oh, we'll release it free, and then they go, oh, let's just leave it.
Yep. And there's probably that much tech out there that I'm not savvy with or aware of and the possibilities, but it's just very much going with what you're comfortable with as a teacher and then learning and building and not being afraid to learn from your students, because they will teach you stuff. I'm still learning all the time, every day, like on new features on Zoom. One of the mums who's a really active supervisor for our year sevens rang us and went, oh, did you know that, there's this to-do button? I've told the teachers were getting cranky because the kids weren't submitting work and they were confused. And she showed us this button, and then we showed the students, and then, oh my God, all this work's coming in because the kids can see where it is. And that's a feature that's always been there, but it's once again the students being quite savvy and figuring out, what to do, how to do it. So as a teacher, it can be quite daunting going full tech if you have access to it, but allow yourself to be guided and learn from others, and most importantly, learn from your students as well.
Yeah, and there is a lot out there, and a lot of it's free too. That's probably
Yeah.
one of the big things. So I know, like, if you're doing younger primary schools, Seesaw is a fantastic
Mm.
LMS really to use, and it's free and it's very interactive. It comes with a lot of really good scaffolded pre-done classroom activity, things that you can pull on. And even when you create your own, the process that they use for creating it is actually, I love it. The fact that they've got you create examples and you give templates and all that kind of stuff. It just really helps with those younger students. And then for your older students, or even younger ones, I guess, but things like Flipgrid are fantastic. And I know Flipgrid have been talking a lot about how to use themselves online. So if you want to have a look at how to do that, Flipgrid have done webinars and stuff about how to use them and to manage classrooms and stuff, because you could pretty much use that for essentially video communication, things like Padlet, and there's just so many these days that you can use that are really great tools for having kids, like you're saying, still working together, where they can see each other and what everyone's posting and what's going up on those sites, or on those learning management type systems. And it also allows just for you to be able to see everyone at once, which is one of the other things that's really, really key, I think, is, as you're doing stuff, is to be able to quickly see everyone, and then you can zoom in on particular people when you need to, which a lot of platforms these days now allow. And then obviously, if you're using Canvas or Schoolbox or any system like that, there's so many of them these days, but you can utilize those. I tend to find a lot of them are more individual, in the sense that you log in, you do your work, you submit your work, and then you go on to the next lesson. But having said that, you could utilize that as well as other platforms for your social.
Oh, definitely. So we have Canvas at our school. So for our Year 7, we have everyone in the Google Classroom. Most of the work is through questions and assignments on Google Classroom, but one of our subjects, Expression, puts their Canvas link into our classwork section, and the kids just know that first port of call is our Google Classroom, and then from there they can branch out into whatever other platform they want them to do. But I guess the big thing I'd offer teachers is patience. Have a lot of patience, and if you can, upskill your kids before they leave school in regards to the platform that you're choosing to use. So if you're wanting them to use Canvas, Google, or whatever you want, make sure they all know how to log on properly, where to access the material, and just ask lots of questions, because once you go into this type of platform, it's not always perfect. And if the entire country is using it, then there will be glitches, there will be dropouts, there'll be all types of unexpected things. So that's why I'm kind of saying, I guess, be as organised as possible curriculum-wise, because there's this whole other ball game happening once you actually start with the delivery of it, in terms of, computer glitches, tech, unexpected things that kids they're not always going to be good and well behaved in the online environment. So, what have you got in place to deal with that? But also to just lots of patience and working through things with them.
Yeah. So now if we switch off from tech and go to how to do distance or remote learning without any tech, what do you do? Because I'm a tech guy, and everyone in my school's got tech, but if they don't, how do you do that?
Once again, really organised. So you almost have to plan a term ahead in terms of your scope and sequence. But then also too, it comes back, and you'd have to consider this with tech too, any learning adjustments that your students might have. Tech's good because there's a lot of, voice to text tools, but then we're assuming that the kids have the headsets to be able to do that. As well. But when you're not using tech, it's we create weekly leaflets, learning activities from each subject area that then gets put into a pile and posted out in the mail. And we usually try and keep it as a 4-week block, so a month's worth of work. And you label it, number it, so the kids know what they're doing. And then you have to set up your system back at your school on whatever your learning management system is, in regards to record what you've sent out, when you've sent it out, if you're sending out additional resources. So if you're sending out PE equipment, art equipment, science equipment, is it all labelled? Is it registered in a system that you can keep log of who's got what and where they've got it? Do you have enough of it to be able to send out to all the students that you have? So it's a matter of boxing stuff up, mailing stuff, students receive it, and then returning it. And where are they returning it to? To your school, to what address, that type of thing. So we usually set it up in weekly units of work, paper leaflets with activities in them. Sometimes that can be accompanied by a USB with video resources on it, because the students may have a computer but have no access to the internet. So if they have something on a USB that can complement their work, sometimes we look at that as well.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. I like that. USB, if they've got tech at home but they don't have internet. But then there's also that the weekly and the monthly kind of packages that get sent is really good. And then, so do the students then like mail that back to you, or would they? Yeah, if I'm looking at a more traditional school system, kids tend to live a lot closer to the school. Would they possibly just come and drop it back off, maybe?
I
And pick
guess it
stuff
all
up. I remember I saw something on Facebook or Twitter or something of an American school that had shut down, and they just had this in the bus bay. They had the librarians out there handing out packages of what people had pre-ordered to go home to the students for reading and whatever else they had, and then they would all, I presume it would then come back. They'd cycle back around.
Yeah, it'd just depend what social distancing measures are in place in regards to coronavirus. Our students get replied paid envelopes, so they put their work back in that, put it in the mail, and it comes back. But that idea of actually dropping it in at the school could be a possibility. I'm not sure. Just every school would be so different. So yeah, I don't know.
No, that's definitely. It would definitely depend on the context. I just was thinking that it would be something I think that is more likely to happen in a normal school context where students live closer.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of money to post,
Mm.
particularly sports equipment as a PE teacher. I'm like, man, that's expensive. Imagine sending out shot puts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And also too, I guess it's one thing to send it out, but then, do you need to employ someone at your school who's going to sort all that mail into the teachers' pigeonholes if they still exist, and stuff like that? So that's like a whole nother level of responsibility of, okay, it's one thing if the teachers organise it to go it out, but then who's sending it out, who's logging it, that type of thing. If it comes back in, who's sorting it? So yeah, it's a whole nother level of logistics as well.
Yeah, definitely. That level of logistics of things going out, coming in, and checking stuff. Even as a teacher, when you're sending stuff, like if you've got hard copy work going out, how does that come back to you? And particularly, you tend to want it back quickly, and so how are kids going to get that to you? These days, I tend to think that most kids have some kind of, particularly if they're high school, they have some kind of phone that they can take photos on, for example, or I might get a parent to take photos of it. I know, as a homeschooling parent, our way that we track our students' learning and maintain our evidence for NESA is actually it's all through photos. We just take photos of everything that our son does and just keep it in a little folder or whatever. And then when NESA comes, here we go. Here's him doing everything that we've said we were going to do. And they really like it, which is, I just think, wow, we should do that as schools. Save so much work. Just walk around your classroom and take photos of everyone's work, or make everyone else take photos of their work and submit it. And then
it's all that evidence. But and the kids do, so kids can take pictures of it, upload it, email it to the teachers and things like that. It was a very big frustration of mine when I first worked at Distance Ed, because everything was on paper. And for my senior students, because they still sit a 3-hour exam, I will still send out paper leaflets, but they'll all be in a Google Classroom, because some students choose to hold on to their work for an entire month or 2 months and then comes back and you've got a wad of marking. But, we all know that instant feedback is really, really important. So a lot of the moments are lost when that happens. So that's why initially I went to Google Classroom, because I thought I need to know that all these kids are in here. I need to see feedback a lot quicker. So they still get their paper leaflets, but when they've got questions, we can just hit it a lot more instant, and I can keep them up to date with the latest things that are going on by dropping links to different things in their classroom as well. So yes, sometimes there is a big delay, and sometimes you can be marking forever because they save it all up.